This is Vanshit, and I'll be speaking on Active Directory components today, the attacks, defense, and detection of Active Directory attacks. We have been doing pen testing and bug bounty hunting, and there are instances where we come across domain controllers or get access to the internal infrastructure of the organization, and that is where these Active Directory attacks come into the picture. This talk will also be interesting for the defenders, people who are involved in the defense of Active Directory. In order to protect yourself, you need to understand how these attacks are formed by the pen testers or the red teamers. So that is what this talk will be revolving around. We'll also be talking a lot about what are the different kind of ways we can get access to domain controller, get access to NTDS files, get access to different hashes and do the pass the hash tags using modules and tools such as Mimikatz and VSS audit. So without wasting any more time on the whole summary of the talk, let me quickly get into the talk now. So I'll be sharing my screen now. So Pratul, is the screen visible now? Can you make sure that's pointed to the YouTube channel? Can't hear you, Pratul. I think you're on mute.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
We have three screens right now. My Vaibhav's and Vanshit's, yours, but we do not have your screen. So can you add it to the stream? Yeah,
Yeah,
just a
I've
second.
added it. Check.
Yes, it is loading.
Great.
Yeah, perfect.
So
I'll move myself.
perfect now. I also do a lot of red teaming, and I'm also a red teaming gadgets enthusiast. So I like to play around with the hardware and modify it for my various red teaming engagements. In the past, I've been into malware analysis and spam fighting as well. So I also present at a lot of conferences. Some of the names I've mentioned in the bottom. If you want to follow some cool tutorials that I make, you can follow my Facebook page. You can also join me on the Telegram channel. Usually, this is where we send the first copies of all the PDFs and tutorials that we make in our YouTube channel. So probably this is where you'll get all the PDFs of all the tutorials that we make. So without wasting much time, let's talk about what really happens when we are doing red team engagements and what are the attacker goals. So for any red team engagement, because I'm also into red teaming, so I've mainly focused my talks on to red teaming and pen testing. So in any red teaming engagement, the three major points or goals the attacker or the red teamer has in mind is basically data access, getting access to all the data, making that data, copying that data and making it accessible over the network and copying it to a public repository or a private repository, and then having a persistent access to this particular data. So those are the three major goals that any red teamer has in his mind when he's doing a red team engagement. Now, talking about privilege escalation when you're doing on Active Directory, it's quite easy and there is not much that you have to do to get into the domain admin. It's quite easy, and during the course of this talk, you'll see how easy it becomes and how logically simple it is to get access and become the domain admin for an Active Directory server or for a domain or a forest for that matter. So let's talk a bit about the PowerShell. What is PowerShell? Because this is something that we will be actively using in this talk. We'll be using PowerSploit, which is a framework, attack framework developed on PowerShell, which has a lot of PowerShell scripts included in it to perform attacks based on PowerShell. So talking about PowerShell, people, most of you might know what PowerShell is, but for the people who don't know what PowerShell is basically Bash, which is integrated onto your Windows environment. So that is what mainly PowerShell is. So PowerShell gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of attack surface that you can do, and a lot of interesting stuff that you can do when you're executing PowerShell commands. If you're added on a network into an AD environment, then PowerShell is a place where you want to start running the recon. And in the coming slides, you'll see how we are going to do that. So talking about weaponizing PowerShell, we're going to weaponize the PowerShell by downloading the shellcode from the web and executing it into the memory without touching the disk. So people who might have done this and might be familiar with how PowerShell in-memory attacks work is that the shellcode is generally not even touching the disk. So it's directly downloaded and executed in the memory. And due to this reason, the antiviruses are generally bypassed. Also, PowerSploit, which is a framework, as I've told you, has a lot of interesting modules that can be used for PowerShell scripting and PowerShell-based attacks, is available. You can download it from this GitHub link. It has the few interesting features that I will be using in this talk will be invoke DLL injection, invoke token manipulation, and invoke Mimikatz. Mimikatz is something I will be extensively working on when I'm doing pass the hash attacks or trying to bypass any privileges. Another interesting framework that we have that is based on PowerShell is Nishang. Nishang is a great tool if you're looking out for PowerShell exploitation and developing exploits and running them through the in-memory capabilities of PowerShell. So weaponizing PowerShell is definitely going to help you in your red team engagements, whether or not you are targeting an Active Directory or not, or whether or not you are doing a pen test for an Active Directory. But PowerShell has a lot of flexibility and a lot of modules that will help you to execute a lot of attacks on the Windows-based systems. So remember, the PowerShell will not help you to attack Linux-based systems or Mac systems. You can only generate PowerShell-based scripts can only be executed on the Windows system, and they are generally by the extension PS1 or something similar. There are multiple extensions available, but yeah, PS1 is the most common one that you will see. Let's come to LDAP reconnaissance. So as you know, before any attack, it is an essential step to do a recon on your target. And considering this particular case, we are going to do a dedicated recon on Active Directory. Now, you might be thinking, okay, when I do a recon, I have multiple assets in mind. This is what I'm going to target, and probably identify, multiple things that will be helping you to make your attack surface even go deeper. So when we talk about LDAP reconnaissance, we will basically be talking about identifying and discovering the high value assets. And these high value assets are going to be the domain admins and the enterprise admins for that particular AD domain, forest, or that AD server. Okay, so that will be the end goal that we'll be targeting on when we are doing an LDAP reconnaissance. So the reconnaissance is going to be on the very limited scale on AD, and this reconnaissance is only give you an idea on how to compromise a member of domain admins and enterprise admins, and we'll see that in the next slide. So LDAP recon, when it starts with PowerSploit, it's a PowerShell-based penetration. PowerSploit, which is a PowerShell-based penetration testing platform, will give you modules to perform this recon. And the module that we'll be using is called Get GPO Group. And let us now understand what are GPOs and what is a GetNet GPOs group. So these modules will basically allow you to traverse the network and gather valuable intelligence on your attack plan. See, when you get to know what is available on the AD, whether or not you have different service principal names identified in this AD forest, whether or not you have different services hosted in this AD, what is the domain controller, where is the server located, and how do you use the different mapping techniques to identify where these particular resources are located. So for that, you have to use certain modules and certain tricks with PowerSploit, and this is where GetNet GPO group comes into the picture. Now this module within PowerSploit is going to help you to expand the restricted group settings. Okay, this will basically enumerate all the GPOs in that particular domain and expand their restricted group settings to see where the users have been granted local memberships through GPOs. So the interesting part that comes here is that I think it is better when I show you. Let's come to the next slide first. So when you use this module, this is the information you will be getting. Okay, so you'll get the GPO name, GPO paths, and members. And in the later part of this slides, you will see how you can use this information to identify the different SPNs in the AD forest or the AD domain, and go ahead and get to the domain admin using pass the hash attacks. So the output of this module is going to give you a list of all the users that have been granted local privileges across the domain, providing you a valuable list of target accounts that will surely help have an elevated privilege. Okay. So once you run this module, this will give you a proper access to a list of all users who have the local privilege across this domain. Okay, so local privileges are basically something that we'll be looking into, and you will see how we are going to use these local privileges to go ahead and escalate it to a different local admin, and then probably from a local admin to the domain controller. An interesting part here is that initially when you compromise a system and you are on the AD network, then probably you have no additional rights on this computer system. And probably, there are very limited rights, and not even local admin rights are available to you. So the good part about this module is that it will require no rights on this particular computer, because this information is retrieved from the GPOs on the domain controllers. Okay, so that is why you don't need any additional privileges here, and this is where you should probably start your recon for the LDAP and AD. Now, let's talk about how this really looks. So you invoke this particular module, and this is the information you get. So the members is a part that you want to look at. Members will be probably the users and the services that we'll be targeting. And let us also look at a few other PowerSploit modules that we can probably use during our pen test or red team on AD. So the first thing that we're going to use is the invoke file finder. So this is an excellent PowerSploit module. So this will find the sensitive files on host by traversing shared folders, looking into the specific search criteria. Okay. So invoke share finder is also going to help you by looking into by quickly building a list of non-standard shared folders, and find local admin access will return a list of members of the administrator group for a specified system. So these particular users that you're going to get retrieved from the local admin access are probably going to be the members of the administrator group that are specified on this particular system that you are on. Okay, so the system you have compromised, so the particular users that have admin access on this particular system could be your local IT team or your IT administration team, or probably the administrator or the domain controller might have local access to your system, right? Probably we have compromised the system into the IT team. So domain controllers can probably have access, local admin access to these particular systems. And that is what this module will help you to enumerate. Now let's talk about SPN scanning. So SPN scanning, or let's talk about SPN. SPN is a service principal name, and it's a unique identifier of a service instance. SPNs are used by Kerberos authentication to associate with a particular service, with a particular service login account. So this is an extract that I've taken from MSDN. So guys, the interesting thing here is that this is where most of our attacks are going to begin. And the first attack that I'm going to talk about today is Kerberosting. So Kerberosting is something that will help you to exploit these particular service principal names and use a unique use these SPNs to further exploit the users that have access to these particular service accounts. So just to give you a gist in more simpler words, and not from on what MSDN has written. So service principal accounts are principal names are basically Active Directory specific identifiers for a particular service that is being used in this AD structure. It could be a SQL server, Microsoft SQL server. It could be a Hyper-V. It could be a hypervisor, something, anything. It could be any service that is used on this AD infrastructure. Also, you will say, oh, okay, so let it be, it's a service. Then, but why does LDAP need access, has a separate name for it, has a separate principal name for it? So guys, the answer to that is there is an authentication means that we use. It's called Kerberos. Okay, so Kerberos will basically have all the names of have a list of all these principal names and of all the service instances that are included in this particular principal service names. And then the users, when they're trying to authenticate into this particular service, then Kerberos is particularly going to generate a ticket and use a TGS approach to provide access to this. We'll talk about that in a bit. So let's talk about how do you scan for the service discovery with so SPN scanning. So SPN scanning is something that you can do on an AD infrastructure. Service discovery without network port scanning. Okay, that is what this is called. Okay, so when you are doing SPN scanning, you're probably doing a service discovery without doing a port scan or a network scan. See guys, generally whenever we do a pen test, we are generally going for a network port scanning to get a recon on a particular target. But in case of AD, we're not going to use that particular technique because it's quite noisy, could be detected, or probably that is not something that will be really giving us fruitful results. So SPN scanning definitely comes into the picture. So service principal names are definitely something that we want to scan for. And the best way to discover the services in Active Directory, you can scan for the SPN for a particular service in that domain or a forest. Okay. Now Active Directory stores all this information. Okay. So since all this information is available in Active Directory, then why do you even want to go for port scanning? And going for port scanning is not going to be the right approach here. So we'll start with SPN scanning. So let us first understand what is the format for a service principal name and what are the different SPNs that you can find on any particular infrastructure that is having AD and is using SPNs. So for that, we have a nomenclature for this. So the first thing is the SPN class, and then comes the SPS service name. Okay. So an example of that would be, if you can look at my screen, it says MSSQL SVC, which basically says that it's a Microsoft SQL service. And then after the slash, you can see the name of the Microsoft SQL server. Okay. Now, it is an important thing to note here that it is only for the SQL service, Microsoft SQL SPN, that you have a port number. For any of the other services, you will not have a port number defined. Okay, and it doesn't really matter. But you know, sometimes you might go to do an AD pen test, or you might be looking at some tutorial on the web, and you might ask yourself, okay, I see a port number for SQL, but why don't I see a port number for Hyper-V or RDP or an Exchange Access Client Server? The reason for that is how AD is built. Okay, that is how Microsoft has chosen it to work. And that is what is happening, that it only has a port number for MS SQL service. And for other services, you will not see a port number. So now let's talk about information. What information will you get? I'll show you how the SPN scanning looks like. But just have a look at what information you will be getting out of the SPN scanning. Okay. So services in the domain or the forest, that is the first information that you will get through SPN scanning. What services this particular domain is having or this particular forest is having. I hope you understand what domains and forests are in AD. The next thing that you need to understand is the instance name. So instance name is going to tell you, this particular service is hosted on what particular instance. So here, if you see, MS SQL SVC is a service name or the SPN class. And then when you see AD SQL SV101 .orgname.com, that is where the instance, the service is located. So that instance, port service is running on, that is another thing that you get here. And the service accounts. Now guys, service accounts is important. Getting access to these service accounts is one of the things that you will start with before you get access to the domain controllers. Because service accounts is something which is greatly used when you are using SPNs in your AD infrastructure. And these accounts are easy to compromise. And the most interesting and the most important thing to remember here is that when you compromise a particular service account, then you compromise all the services that this particular service account has access to. So a single service account might have access to other instances as well. So let us say I have a service account for a MS SQL service. Okay, and there are multiple instances of MS SQL service running on this particular AD domain or AD forest. Then if I compromise a particular service account that has access, that might probably be having admin access to all these instances of MS SQL. Okay, there might be 10, 20, hundreds of MS SQL instances for this particular service. Then you'll be compromising all those services instances as well, because the same service account has access to them. So I hope that is clear, and that is one of the most fundamental things that I make sure to report in my red team engagements when I'm able to get access to the AD, that if I'm able to compromise this service account, then I list all the instances of that particular service in my report, because that is all I'm going to get access to. Now, taking POC for each one of them is definitely not something I want to do or is possible for me to put into one report. But later on, if the client comes to me and wants to talk to me about it, then it's a separate story. But generally, I generally mention that, if I've compromised this particular service account, I have access to it, and this is the explanation for that, because this service account is included in other services as well, and that you can easily get through a PowerShell command. I will show that to you as well if you say.
Yeah, Vanchit,
Yeah.
just a second. So guys, I'll just take 2 minutes of your time, Vanchit. So guys, we do have a lot of questions in the comment section as well. So if Vanchit is comfortable, then we can take them at this moment or at the end of the webinar as well. So, and Vanchit, we do have a comment from one of the guys to go slow. So I guess you are imparting a lot of information to the attendees. So you asked a couple of questions as well, right? Whether they should be aware of T-Rex and everything.
Yeah, just give me one
So
moment, Prabhu.
yeah, no
I'm
worries.
quickly going to. I've
We
not
can,
opened YouTube on my particular.
yeah. So we do have the
Yeah, so
screen.
let me
Like
just
we do
open and
have.
have a look at.
Okay, no worries, no worries. No worries
Uh,
in that. We do have the chat section as in the StreamYard link as well. You can have a look in
but to the
there as well.
getting the question, of the
Okay.
participants, na,
Yeah. Agreed.
link StreamYard, and not getting the questions from the participants. So as I've
Okay.
opened YouTube, yeah. So
So
okay,
it is
so you
completely
can
and
go.
totally your call if you want to answer right now, or like I just wanted to give a pause because you are just in the flow, and I apologize for like giving the pause here. So because there were a certain queries, like just to go slow because it was a lot of information for the attendees. So
Okay,
you want, you can
so
just go ahead.
I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you are.
Great. So I'll just quickly pick up a few questions and then I'll go. So if already connected to the internal network, so that's the first question I see here. I think you can post all your comments. Yeah. So if you're already connected to the internal network, can I pull the admin right members from the domain via this tool? The answer is yes and no, depending upon what privileges the system has that you have compromised. So my advice is going to be just stick with me for the talk. I think this question came from Prithvi Raj. Okay, so this is something I would recommend. Just stick around with me for the talk. You will understand what I'm trying to say, because it doesn't really matter, what account you have compromised. It's quite easy to escalate the privileges, because generally in organizations, local admins have admin rights to your system, to any system that you compromise. And in NTNM hashes, those hashes are stored. And how to go ahead and escalate your privileges is something I'm going to take up in the talk in the later section. Mangesh is asking, is Active Directory belongs to the web application pen testing? No. So Mangesh, no, Active Directory can come as a subset of network pen testing, but not at all as a web application pen testing. To answer your question, I have another question from TP. Why is the cam on the, okay, which PowerSploit only tool? Is PowerSploit the only tool? No, there are multiple tools there. PowerSploit is the one I'm familiar with and I generally use. There are not a lot of AD engagements that come into your way as a consultant. So probably PowerSploit is the one that I extensively used. There are also a lot of PowerShell scripts available online. So you can probably go online and check for those scripts and execute them individually. You don't necessarily need to use PowerSploit. You can write your own PowerShell scripts as well, because PowerShell scripts are easy to write. It's an easy scripting language. So that is my recommendation. So just to simply answer your question in one word, there are multiple tools, multiple scripts available. Uh, it's just an example I'm taking for the talk, since this talk is for 30-45 minutes. The next question I have is there going to be a demo from Mangesh? So Mangesh, since you're not getting most of it, so I completely understand that. I tried to arrange and create an environment in Azure for AD, but most of the things were not happening, as my PC is not working right now, and I'm due to the lockdown, I'm not able to get the new PC because I need to host multiple servers. I'm using a MacBook right now, and I don't want it to hang much. and interrupt in a talk. So unfortunately, there's not going to be a demo, but I'm going to show you certain screenshots, and I'm also going to show you the methodology that we can follow here. So Saif Ali Khan is saying, what's the alternative for PowerShell on Mac? So Bash Macs are always there on Mac. So it depends upon what system you have to compromise, and answering this question is going to be a little bit out of the scope. But just to give you an answer, but yeah, PowerShell is something similar to the power that terminal gives you on a Mac. So there could be other alternatives as well, but yeah, so that could be. But PowerShell scripts are not going to work on the Mac. Okay, so the next question I see here is, can you go slow? Yes, definitely yes, I'll go slow. Yatin is asking, most of the Active Directory pen tests involve antiviruses which blocks the overview, PowerSploit, Mimikatz. How do you overcome those in the real pen test? See, when you're entering an exploit, make sure you don't put it to the disk. Try to do a pass the hash attack to escalate your privileges. Don't use the general get system or the other modules to trying to get admin rights to a system when you have compromised it. Try to see what exactly the infrastructure is made of. Try to do a preliminary recon. Try to check the network interfaces. What are the internal network IPs that you can see here? Once you have an idea on it, then probably you can download the shell code from the web and execute it directly from the RAM. Okay, so probably that can help you to bypass the AVs. PowerShell can also be included into Word documents, Excel sheets, PowerShell scripts, macros can be included. And that is another way I do it in the real-time pen test, but that is only when I'm trying to exploit or trying to get a remote shell. Okay, that is not something I would do during a privilege escalation or Active Directory domain, because the main goal of this particular activity is to get access to the domain controller and take control of the whole Active Directory domain or forest. Okay, so that is the goal that I'm going to follow. So bypassing antiviruses or getting access to the system is something that we have already done previously, and we're gonna skip that part for this talk now. Okay, now guys, I'm gonna take rest of the questions in the end of the session, because if I just keep answering, we might just lose on time. So I'm really sorry going fast, but I'm gonna skip the question.
Yeah, Subbu, thank you for your suggestion as well. Vanchit will be doing the same. We'll be answering all the rest questions regarding this webinar now post the completion of the same. Yeah, Vanchit, sorry for interrupting. You may proceed now. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you make sure that my screen is visible? It's pointed to my screen now, right? People can see in the presentation. Okay, Pratul, can you confirm if you can see my presentation on the webinar? Okay. Yeah, I think we can. Okay, so Kerberos in a nutshell. Okay, so guys, before we begin diving deep into Active Directory pen testing, you need to understand what Kerberos is and how this authentication basically works when a domain controller is trying to authenticate a user for the Active Directory. Okay, so let us first consider a scenario where a user is trying to log into the Outlook server, the Access server, and this is what the negotiation will look like. So the first thing that is going to happen here is the user will log into the Active Directory. Okay, so when the user will log in, the user will authenticate to the domain controller, and using the password, which of course the DC domain controller knows. Okay, so the domain controller obviously knows these passwords, these hashes, and that is what the user is going to use to authenticate into the Active Directory. Now the domain controller or DC will send a ticket granting ticket or a TGT, Kerberos ticket. Okay. Now this TGT is presented to any domain controller to prove authentication for the Kerberos service tickets. Okay. So these particular Kerberos service tickets are going to be authenticated against the TGTs that is sent by the domain controller to the AD server. Okay. Now in the next step, the user will open up the Outlook, which causes the user workstation to look up the service principal name. Now, guys, try to correlate the things. that we have just studied. Okay, so we have understood that there are various services and they are identified in the AD using the service principal names. Okay, so when a user will open up the Outlook, this will cause the user workstation to look up the service principal name for Exchange server, right? Because he's trying to log into the Outlook server. So he definitely have to look up the SPN, because that is how the whole AD infrastructure is recognizing a particular service. I hope so far so good. So once the SPN is identified, the computer communicates with the domain controller again. Okay, now once the SPN has been identified, the computer will again communicate with the domain controller and then present the user's TGT. Okay, now see, in the first step, the user tried to authenticate into the domain controller. In the second step, the domain controller generated a user a TGT, or a ticket granting ticket. Okay, so in the second step, this is what happened. Okay, so in the first step, the user authenticated himself into the domain controller. In the next step, the domain controller sent a TGT, Kerberos ticket, and this TGT was presented to any domain controller to prove authentication for the Kerberos service tickets. And this Kerberos service tickets is basically what is allowing the user to access the Outlook app. Okay, so this TGT is going to be presented into this service ticket. Okay, now in the third step, the user opened the Outlook. Okay, now I understand the people who have not read about this before might have an issue, but just try to follow up with me and try to visualize it, as by visualizing you are going to get an idea of what is happening in the backend when you're using AD services. I'm pretty sure most of you might be working in corporate organizations, and that is where most of this AD infrastructure is used. So this is what is happening in the backend when you're working in your corporate environment. Okay, so once the SPN is identified, okay, now in the third step, the user opened the Outlook, okay, from the workstation, and SPN was identified for this particular Exchange server. We have understood what SPNs are in the previous slides. I hope you have understood that. Now in the fourth step, guys, in the fourth step, the SPN is identified and the computer has communicated to the domain controller again and presented the user's TGT generated in step 2. Guys, look at step 2. Now in the fourth step, the TGT generated in the step 2 was presented, as well as the SPN for the resource was also presented to the domain controller. Okay. Now in the fifth step, the domain controller replies to the TGT Kerberos service ticket, and this reply is going to depend upon whether or not this was a valid and unauthenticated ticket granting ticket or not. And the domain controller, if it's a valid, it will reply to the TGS or ticket granting service that, okay, the user has presented me the right ticket, and we can probably go ahead and provide him access to this particular service, SPN. And then the user's workstation presents the TGS with the Exchange server for access, and Outlook connects successfully. So all these 7 steps happen when you're trying to connect your Outlook to the Exchange server. Okay, so try to visualize it in that particular scenario only when you're working on your official systems. So let me quickly check if people have any questions here. Anybody has any questions about TGTs and TGSs? Any questions? Okay, so let me quickly come back to this. Teams that are sitting, this is what the nightmare looks like for them. Okay, so in Kerberosting, I'll give you the complete outlook what Kerberosting is. I'll give you a few tips, and then probably, as you can see in this slide, I will walk you command by command of how this particular attack took place. Okay, and then we're going to go to the parse the hash attack. So before we go there, let me show you, let me tell you what Kerberosting is. Now we have understood what Kerberos is, we understood what SPNs are. Now let's understand how to correlate them and try to exploit the AD. Okay, so an attacker sends AD with the user accounts with an SPN value set. Okay, this particular attacker will scan the AD for the user accounts with SPN value set. Now what are these SPN value set? The users that have access to particular SPN services. Okay, so probably you're going to look for the users that have access to some particular SPN services. In the next step, you'll get a list of target accounts, the accounts in the AD that have access to particular SPN services. Okay, so you're going to look and scan for that. Now, once you have done that, you got a list of target accounts. The next step that you're going to do is you're going to request service tickets from AD using these SPN values. How these service tickets look like and how are they requested, we will cover them in later slides as I'm telling you. Just try to understand the whole scenario. In the next step, we're going to use Mimikatz. Mimikatz is an excellent in-memory exploitation tool that we're going to extensively use throughout this talk. So then by using Mimikatz, it's very simple to use, guys. It's very simple. If you just Google about it and just try to look at a man page for Mimikatz, you'll easily get all the information required. So using Mimikatz, the attacker will extract the service from the memory and save them to a particular file. Okay, now this file is then passed to a password cracking script to crack NTLM hashes with the password dictionary. Okay. Now this particular file is then passed to a password cracking script that we have saved using Mimikatz. And this script will basically crack the NTLM hashes with a password dictionary against the service tickets. And then they have to be extracted until they successfully open the ticket. If the ticket opens, then the clear text password is obtained. Okay, remember that. Next comes the tips. The first tip here is when you are cracking service accounts, that is particularly successful approach because their passwords are very rarely changed. Okay, so as I've told you, service accounts are going to be your targets because service accounts is something that you're gonna get access to multiple SPN instances. If a particular service account associated with an SPN is compromised, then you get access to all those instances, and the passwords are rarely changed. Okay, as the trends show. Cracking these tickets offline will not cause any domain traffic, okay, or account lockouts. So it is undetectable. See, you're doing an offline attack. You're downloading, you're making a copy of these things on your hard disk, right? And then you are doing a cracking attack on them, passing them through a password file and seeing if they can crack the NTLM hashes. And after the NTLM hashes are cracked, then you are using these particular these particular tickets to generate the tickets and compare it if the ticket can be opened or not. So this is going to be undetectable because there are no lockouts going to happen. There are no account authentication bypasses that are going to happen here. So now let's talk about how does it look in action. So this is a script. If you'll get access to this presentation, then you can probably look at this particular tool. The link is joined for this particular script. So in this particular script, which will get all the user SPNs, we'll find all the AD accounts that have a principal service name registered. These will be our candidates for Kerberos. Okay, so that's number one. So getting access to all the names or the people who have the access to service principal names is what is the first input to Kerberos, and pick a particular name from an account here. So you can probably cherry pick it or probably use your mind and think, what is going to be a particular target that is going to be useful for you. So then particularly you're going to pick up a name from here. Next, you will use a PowerShell to request a ticket, not using the account name, but actually the service principal name just obtained. Okay, so now you're not going to use the account name. You're just going to use the actual principal name instead, okay, that you have just obtained. This is what the command will look like. So this will basically be the object name and then the system identity, the arguments, and the instance name. The output is going to be a service ticket. The output of this command in step 2 is going to be a service ticket that you will get in this here. Now use Mimikatz to dump the tickets to the disk. Now, as I've told you, Mimikatz is an excellent in-memory exploitation tool. Helps you get the data from in-memory. Memory is basically your RAM. It's not your hard drive or SSDs. So now we need all this data to our disk. And the simple command for that is Kerberos list/export, a simple command to use. This will store the tickets encrypted with NTLM hashes. So that's a typo here. It's not NTLOM, it's NTLM hash. Okay, and that is where the principal service will be targeted. Now to crack this, we are going to use this particular tool, which is called TGS rep crack. So using this, we're going to pass a word list, and then we're going to try and crack the particular Kerberos ticket, okay, that is encrypted with the NTLM hash. Okay, if the hash cracking was successful and we were able to open the ticket, then probably means that we have access to this particular account details. Now we're gonna rewrite the changes. For rewriting, there are two steps. The first one is going to be make user appear to be a different user. And the next step is going to be add user to another group. The commands for them are mentioned. Please have a look at the presentation. Get back to me on social media. The links are mentioned here in the presentation on the first or second slide. So you can get back to me and ask me if you have any questions in these particular commands. Inject them back into the RAM with Mimikatz. So if you have to inject them back into the memory in order to access them, this is the Mimikatz command that you're going to use, which is Kerberos ptt SQL dot kirbi. Okay, so this is probably the command. Guys, SPN scanning is also called spin scanning. So if you hear that word, that's probably what people mean. So that was all about Kerberosing, how Kerberos is used to manipulate and try to crack different users in a particular AD. So let us consider a scenario where you have compromised a computer in an organization, and that workstation probably does not have any admin access. So this was the first way of trying to elevate your privileges or trying to pivot into the different systems on this particular network. The next attack that we're going to talk about is going to be the pass the hash attack using Mimikatz. Okay. So Mimikatz, as I've told you, is an in-memory attack tool, and pass the hash will basically allow the attacker to obtain the hashes of one or more users in your AD. So that is going to be the first step to get the hashes for particular users of the AD. And you all know where we are going to get these hashes from. If not, then we're going to see that in the next slide. Just wait for it. In the second step, we are going to use Mimikatz. Okay, Mimikatz is something that we will leverage in order to compromise a username password hash to authenticate into the other systems or resources the account has access to. Okay, now guys, remember, inside any workstation or any computer, your username passwords or their computed hashes are stored. They're not stored in plain text, and that is stored in the memory. That is not even on the disk. So if there is a way that I can extract the in-memory data hashes and then inject them back after a little manipulation, then that is what we're going to use Mimikatz for. Okay, so I'm going to get a few hashes that might have been stored in the system, okay, for different users. Like I've told you, there can be an IT administrator or a domain controller that have a local admin access to all the workstations in the organization. Generally, that is how organizations work. Local IT teams or IT teams have local admin access to every workstation. And when they have this local admin access, obviously their hashes are going to be stored. Their authentication hashes are definitely going to be stored in this particular computer, right? And since these are stored, we are going to use particular techniques to get these hashes and then use Mimikatz to put these hashes back in the RAM and then execute this attack. This is a pictorial representation of what I'm trying to tell you. So let us say that J. Smith is some women in this particular organization, okay, and she has a particular NTLM hash that is somewhat mentioned on the screen. Okay. Now let us say that that a username called IT_admin has a local admin access to this particular system. Okay, because she's a regular employee, she probably works in the HR team, or she probably is in charge of some IT security company hiring, and some guy sent her a malware, now has access to her system. So now admin is definitely going to, IT admin is definitely going to have local admin access. And this NTLM hash is stored in this particular system. Now using Mimikatz, I'm going to give you the whole cycle. How do you go till the AD admin or the domain controller? Okay, so AD admin, how to compromise this AD admin using this pass the hash attack. So compromise J. Smith. Okay, after getting into J. Smith system, then you go ahead and compromise the IT administrator account by pass the hash attack. Now in the same workstation, you will be logged in as the IT administrator. And once you do that, you'll have access to other NTLM hashes that the IT administrator has given local admin access to. And AD admin can be one of them, maybe one of them, generally is one of them. Okay, and then using this particular AD admin NTLM hash, you're going to replicate or impersonate into that particular account, and then you're going to get access to this particular AD administrator. Let us see how that happens. So the first step is to elevate the privileges and open your PowerShell. Unfortunately, guys, I'm having a Mac with me, so I cannot run these commands and show you. So elevate your privileges using a privilege colon debug command. This will particularly make you give you an elevated privilege in the PowerShell itself. Okay, this is not going to do a privilege escalation attack within your environment, whatever account you have compromised. In particular, that environment, it's going to give you a elevated access within PowerShell. Okay. Then secure LSA logon password. That is the command we'll give. Okay, this will dump all the NTLM hashes that are stored on the system. Guys, these logon password hashes, this command that I'm giving is going to dump all the NTLM hashes that were used to log into this system. And one of them can be the IT administrator as seen in the previous example. Next, using pass the hash in Mimikatz, you're going to use secure LSA path, and you're going to give the fully qualified domain with that and the NTLM hash. And that is what the command looks like, guys. Okay, this is what the command actually looks like. Okay, so this is the pass the hash attack that we are going to do. So in this, out of these hashes, one of the username that we have targeted, that could be an IT admin, and along with his NTLM hash, we're going to pass it. And then once we have done that, we are going to run psexcc to run that particular account as a particular user. So now this particular user, J Smith, will be running as the IT administrator. Okay. And similarly, once we have gone to the IT administrator, we are going to run the same command, that is secure user, secure LSA logon passwords. After you have compromised the IT admin, then you're probably going to get the next level, okay, which is going to be the AD admin. In my scenario, it's going to be the AD admin. And once you have done that, you are again going to get the NTLM hash, and then you're going to run psexe again to execute this particular scenario and get access to the system as that particular user. Okay. The next attack that we are going to talk about is going to be extracting password from hashes. Now, to use this particular technique, we are going to target ntds.dit. Okay, this is the particular file that we'll be using. So before we get into this particular type, the third category of attack, let us first understand what ntds.dit is and why are we actually going to target it. So see, by stealing the ntds.dit file, which is basically Active Directory database, okay, and what this database has is that a particular information about the user, objects, groups, group memberships, and whatnot. It also includes the password hashes for all the users in the particular domain. So all the password hashes are included in the ntds.dit file. But now your question is going to be, okay, then if we already had all the password hashes in a particular file, then why did we not clearly go there? So guys, the answer is for that is going to be, if you look at my talk flow, first we did a recon, then we identified the SPN, we did curb roasting to get access to a particular user, then we did a Mimikatz pass the hash attack to elevate our privileges to the AD admin. Guys, this particular file is located on the AD admin or the domain controller, and that is what you will see here. If you look at the tip section, you will see before this attack can be attempted, make sure you have administrative access via the Active Directory domain controller. That is what you require, because this file is only accessible to the Active Directory domain controller. Once the hashes have been extracted or cracked, there is no limitation of where the attacker can do. There is no limitation what the attacker can do with it. So guys, that is obviously important. Once you have access to all the users in your organization, then probably the whole organization is going to come down. Okay, so that is what is important to understand. To do this particular attack, you have to have the administrator access of the domain controller, admin access of the domain controller. Okay, and as an attacker, what we are going to do in this attack is that password hash and subsequently act as another user of the domain. So how does this basically work? In this particular attack, we will use a simple technique of pass the hash in Mimikatz and use different PowerShell capabilities and libraries built into Windows. Okay, and that is how we'll execute this particular attack. Okay, understand that this particular file, like I've told you, you need admin access to the domain controller in order to copy this file. You might be thinking, okay, let us say I have admin access to the domain controller, and I'm just going to copy this file. Guys, it's not that simple. The reason for that is ntds.dit is a file that is genuinely all the time being used by the domain controller. and it cannot be copied. If you try and copy it, you'll get this error when you'll try to copy it. This action can't be completed because the file is open in the key distribution center. Okay, so that is probably the error that you're gonna get when you're trying to copy this file. Okay, so there is a particular technique that you have to follow in order to copy this file. Okay, we are going to use VSS admin via the DC volume shadow copy in order to perform this. In the first step, as an attacker or as a pen tester red teamer, we are going to obtain access to the Active Directory domain controller. Once we do that, okay, once we have the admin access to Active Directory domain controller, then we are going to probably attacker will go ahead and create a volume shadow copy from the system command prompt. Okay, so this shadow copy will be created. The command can be seen in the next to next slide. Okay, these are the commands. I'm going to show you the commands, how this is done. Let us first look at the methodology that we are going to follow. Okay, so once we have created a shadow copy, the attacker will retrieve this file from the volume of the shadow copy. Now, once we have copied, we'll also copy the registry for the volume shadow copy. Okay, because we need the boot key to decrypt the ntds.dit file. Okay, so you also need to copy the registry or the volume shadow copy in order to get the boot key, which you need to decrypt the ntds file. Remember this. Okay, so you need multiple things here. It's not going to be that easy. Attacker will delete the volume shadow copy to cover their tracks. Okay, now as you all know, as pen tester, covering tracks is one of the things that we need to do. So we are also going to delete this volume shadow copy in order to cover our tracks so that nobody knows that this has been copied. Because you all know the perfect hack is the one in which the hack does not know that the hack has happened. Okay, only you should know that this particular activity has happened. Now in the next step, we are going to go to the offline and be and thus undetectable. So now since you're offline, you're going to try to crack the password hashes from the ntds.dit file. Okay. Next, once these have been extracted, the pen tester, red teamer, or attacker can use tools like Mimikatz to perform pass the hash attack. Okay, so this file was encrypted, you have decrypted it, but guys, till now you have not got the clear text password. Okay, so you're still going to do the pass the hash attack to obtain the clear text passwords. Okay, and we can also use password cracking tools. Okay, like Hashcat to obtain clear text password, but that is later. But you can straight away use Mimikatz also to do the pass the hash attack. So these are the tips. Before you do this attack, you have to have administrative access. I'm going to reiterate on this. Also, once they have been extracted and cracked, there is no limitation of what damage you can do, and this can probably result as an end game to your red team activity. This is the error that you get when you copy. It's not that simple. So in the step 1, you create the shadow copy. The command is mentioned here. In the step 2, you retrieve this ntds file from the volume shadow copy. To do that, you simply run a copy command and give the absolute path to that particular, to give the path to that particular shadow file, shadow window. Using VSS admin to steal the ntds.dit file. Okay, in the next step, we're going to copy this file from the registry or the volume shadow copy. This contains the boot key that will be needed to decrypt the ntds. So in order to copy this registry, you have to run a simple command, which is reg save hklm system, and then copy it to whatever path you want to extract it to. In my case, I'm taking C drive extract sys. Okay, so I can probably download this particular registry or the volume copy. Okay, and to do the volume copy, I'm just going to give the copy command again and copy the volume that where I have made the shadow copy of the ntds.dit file. And finally, step 4, like I discussed, I'm going to delete the shadow copy in order to cover my tracks. And the same thing can also be used by using Ninja Copy module. Invoke Ninja Copy is a module that is available in PowerSploit if you don't want to go with the VSS audit. This will also copy the NTFS partition volume by reading the raw volume. This is one of the screenshots that you can have a look at in order to do this extraction. This approach is another way to get access to the particular log file in the Active Directory without alerting the monitoring systems. So guys, throughout this activity, you might have seen I have majorly focused on not getting detected by different IT systems and stuff. So that is the main reason here that I'm again and again focusing, because once this attack is detected, you can probably get cut off from the environment, or probably the whole system can come to an alert and they can deploy their changes in different hashes. So even those hashes will not be any much useful for you. So let's come to the final phase of this, of defending. So defending is one of the things that I really wanted to talk about, because I also understand that many of the subscribers to the Null Meet and Ovast are also belonging to the defense line, and they are not just red teamers. So guys, for defense, as a blue teamer, you can limit the number of users who can log into as domain controllers. You can protect them, including the protective groups such as domain and enterprise admins. But make sure you also protect print operators, server operators, and account operators, because these are also the accounts that I have seen are easily targeted during my pen testing and red teaming engagements. Also, these groups should be limited, monitored for changes, and frequently rectified. Okay, so frequently you should monitor them. Okay, try to have a proper password policy for them and stuff. Also, make sure that you leverage the monitoring software. There are multiple monitoring softwares that can monitor these ADs and other infrastructure in your environment, and prevent the user from retrieving files of the shadow copies will be beneficial to reduce the attack surface. Okay, so this will probably help you. And also make sure that you also go through this documentation. The link is mentioned. It's from Microsoft and will really help you to secure the privilege access into your AD environment. Now, guys, this is the end of the slides from my end. So I guess we have a few minutes to take up a few questions. So,
Yes, we do
Pratham,
have a few minutes.
yeah. So I'm going to take up the questions now.
Agreed. So there was a one question, the last question, which I guess has been answered by Ankit. He's also one of the co-leads. He's also there in the chats as well. So anyways, we will be taking up the questions. We had a query by Subbu, and so he said, answer all the questions. We had a query by Vignesh now.
I cannot find his comment. Subbu.
Yeah, so I have posted it in the screen. You can just have a look.
Okay. In case of security audit, okay, active directories for, okay, how do you do okay, PCI DSS for an active directory? Okay, what all I mean, I have not done that yet, a PCI DSS for active directory server. What are the major controls I can check for the defense mechanism? So for ISO perspective, I'm not sure, man, because I'm not more of a compliance guy. But my recommendation is going to be, like as I've mentioned in my last slide, that you can always go ahead and leverage. Make sure that people don't have access, have very limited access, and the most protected groups such as domain and enterprise admins, or print operators, server operators, account operators. These are the users that you want to limit in an organization. So that is one of the first things that you can use as a control for an ISO audit. Secondly, when you are doing an audit, ISO audit, particularly looking at an active directory, you can also make sure that proper controls have been placed, or proper monitoring softwares are there to alert you for proper monitoring softwares are there to alert you in case a breach is happening. So probably that is where you can begin for ISO.
Okay. So we also have a question by Prithvi Raj.
Location. Can I see the empty NTLM hash value in domain added? I don't get your question, Prithvi or Raj. I mean, can you?
Does TGT and password combine together to auth?
Okay, so where can I? So I'll answer this last one. Where can I find the NTLM hashes in the local machines? Can I try cracking it for locally? Yeah, so you can definitely, all the NTLM hashes like you have seen are being cracked locally. None of them have been cracked online. All of them are offline attacks. These NTLM hashes are present in the system, in the memory. You can always retrieve them. The techniques have been mentioned in the slides. You can refer to them. Repeating the whole process is going to be tough, but just to understand, make you understand, all these NTLM hashes can be downloaded. and using Mimikatz, we can straight away use these hashes to pass them into the domain controller rather than cracking them offline. So you don't necessarily have to crack these hashes as well. Once you have taken out these hashes, then you can probably stop there and use Mimikatz, and then go ahead and use the pass the hash attack instead of spending your resources and your computation on cracking.
Okay.
Okay, so
We do
what's
have
the
a
next
question for
one?
Balaji as well. Balaji Gopal, what is
Yeah.
the most
Uh,
efficient way to mitigate Kerber roasting?
There are multiple ways. Like the first one is going to be to limit the access to the domain controllers and the most protected groups. For curb roasting, the another thing that you can do is make sure that your service name are not leaked, particularly to the people who don't have the privileged access for that particular SPN. So protecting your SPNs is going to be the first phase of this mitigation. Secondly, you have to make sure that a Kerberos authentication, whenever it is happening for a particular SPN, the principal service name or the service account that is being used to generate a TGT for that does not have access to all the instances. So you can probably in your organization define them based on what particular infrastructure you have, classify your instances for the same service, and not use the same service accounts for all the SPNs itself. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess Balaji, your question was answered. Guys, so if you have any other questions, you can just keep mention it in the chat box as well. I suppose all the questions have been answered now. How
Yeah,
can I get
I think all
access
of them
to
have been
the
answered.
this PPT? So this is a very important question which we always get. How can we get access to this PPT? This is the
Just
major
go to the
question.
null.
Yeah, so we will be posting it again. I'm repeating this thing. We will be posting this again. All the PPTs and everything, it will be available on the SlideShare account of Wasp Daily and on the null account on the Swachlit link of Vanchit stock. So yes, you can have a look into all of on the link to the video, and the slides will be available there. So I guess that is it. So thank you, Vanchit. Thank you for your time. I guess, and I hope it was a very informational session for all the attendees. And thank you for being here. Okay, so yeah. Okay, Vanchit. Bye bye.
Thank you, man. Thanks everyone for attending. It was lovely speaking here at Null. It's always one of the things that I enjoy the most. So it's been a while I've been back to Null Delhi. So yeah, it's good to be back. So, thanks
Yeah.
for hosting, Prapal, Vaibhav, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to speak on this wonderful platform. And thanks everyone for joining for the session. I hope this adds value to your day-to-day pen testing activity or red teaming activities and enhances your knowledge. So yeah, so thanks a lot and thanks for attending, guys.
Okay, Vanchit. Bye bye.